All right, so this video was actually viewer requested. I don't remember the person's name, I'm sorry, and I can't find the comment. But this was a request to do a 12th house stellium video. So a stellium is a concentration of planets in one particular house. Now, for some people will say, some astrologers will say it's 3 planets, some will say 4. I typically go with 3 because, one, I have experience with having a stellium and the influence that it has. And also I look at it like in general, when you see 2 of something, you're like, okay, there's 2. When you see 3, then you start paying attention to it. So I do think anytime you add another element to something, now we have a different combination going on. So whereas 1 planet in a house, you resonate with that, right? You might feel that energy. But when we have 3 or more planets in a house, we now have a concentration of energy in one house. That means a lot of time spent in areas of that house. I've seen people with 5 planets in one house and what that means for them. I've seen people with, 4. And I think that now, I wouldn't say there's such thing as too much, but you have to think about it. Like if you end up with 7 planets in one house, wow. That could even mean you're really, really good at that area of that house, or that there's not enough time or energy to put into anything else. So I have 3 planets in the 12th house. They are all personal planets, Sun, Mercury, and Mars. I also have 3 planets in the 4th house. 2 are outer planets and 1 is the moon. So I feel a little bit more probably with the 12th house than the 4th house stellium, maybe because it's a personal planets. But so I want to talk about the 12th house in particular because people have a lot of fear of the 12th house, right? Because we it's like too self-undoing and karma and, it's scary and it's hidden. And I think that the 12th house definitely can be a place where we get trapped, we get stuck. We live too much in what we want and not enough in what we need. We imagine, we dream. We have Neptune there. Neptune rules the 12th house. And so anything in the 12th house is going to have that kind of wishy, wanty type of energy to it. And depending on the planet, that matters how that actually plays out, right? And so I want to talk about how we can bring some of these planets to the surface. A lot of people ask about the 12th house, and there's a lot of fear on the 12th house because I do feel like some literature on the 12th house or some beliefs about the 12th house make it sound really scary. Like you're trapped. You're never gonna. And I disagreed. Now, can you get trapped? For sure. I know personally that I used to hide a lot of the things I was good at or that I could do. I don't show those things until it's time to show them. And I don't think that's wrong. But especially with the topic of astrology and tarot, people knew that I did it. Like people that I was close with knew. But for years, I never put it out there, right? And it wasn't until a couple of years ago that, now again, I'd always done this. I've done tarot since I was 15. I've been interested in astrology since I was a kid. But I didn't put it out there and start doing readings for strangers and people I didn't know and started getting clients and started my YouTube, which was just like, I started with just a couple of people that I knew and then it grew. So thank you if you're a subscriber. And putting out Instagram content. And I just started that, putting myself out there when I was so hesitant to do that. So even though I knew I had the knowledge and the confidence and the skills, I didn't want to, at first I was so afraid to do that. And then I was like, well, why not? Like, if I know what I'm doing and people say I'm good at what I'm doing, why am I not sharing that and helping other people? So that's what I mean by putting the 12th house energy. Now, the 12th house is also linked to healing and collective consciousness, right? So I want us to also look at the positive of the 12th house before we say all the negatives as well. Now, I always say use the energy where it's going to use you. So yes, it's very possible that you feel trapped in the 12th house. It's very possible that you're self-undoing if you're too much in your imagination to the point where you don't let that imagination now become something that you can use. Okay. So let's look at there. Because our dreams are our dreams, but our dreams are things we want to happen. Correct. So that's what we need to look at it like. So I'm going to start with each planet and then talk about how you can bring that to the surface. How can you still use the 12th house energy in a productive way? The sun in the 12th house. So the sun is the personality, the persona, as I've said before, whether you agree with your sun sign or not, that is your core energy, right? And so it deals more with, I think, how we present or how we, not the rising. I'm not talking about the rising. I'm talking about what we project, what we kind of put out there. And the sun sign can also be dealing with, how we shine and what area of our life can we shine. So if your sun is in the 12th house, you can shine in matters of helping. Now, how you help is going to look different, because if your sun in Gemini or sun in Capricorn or sun in Leo, it can look very different. But with the sun in the 12th house, work on yourself, improve yourself, right? Really work on that aspect of yourself, because now you can kind of become this symbol of how to do that thing. So for instance, let's say you're a sun in Virgo and you're really good at information or analyzing things. Once you're really good at that and you're confident in yourself, you can now show other people how to do that and help them. Right? You're not doing it for ego. But 12th house has nothing to do with ego. You're now able to help them. If you're sun in Leo, where are you creative? Where are you expressive? You have Leo stuck in the 12th house. I have Leo in the 12th house. It's not my sun, but it's Mercury and Mars. So how do you use that Leo energy and bring it to the surface? Even if you don't want to put yourself out there, because the sun, the 12th house person, still likes to kind of be a little bit elusive. They don't want to give everything away. Okay. How do you put your creativity out there? Maybe you're known for something that's really good and you can help other people see it. Maybe you're an artist. I don't know. Everyone's not an artist, so Leo, but I know a lot of creative Leos. But maybe you're an artist and you do art therapy. You know what I mean? Or your art helps people see something that triggers their emotions, right? If you're a Leo, if you're sun in Capricorn, maybe you're just really ambitious, but you hide it. You don't show people all the ins and outs of how you've done things. But people always look at you and like, dang, how'd they do that? I didn't know they knew how to do that. And you're just really, really good at something. You can kind of tap into that and show other people how to do it. You know, help other people who are at like a low point. So the different things with the 12th house is that you're probably usually either you become a victim. You can definitely become a victim if you stay too much in the 12th house and you don't develop anything. If you relax too much, if you're too passive, or you can use what you know and what you do in that energy in the 12th house to help others. And helping others looks different. Everyone's not going to be in the medical field. Everyone's not going to be in the education field. Everyone is not going to be, therapists. Like everybody's not going to do that, but you can help in different ways. So the sun and 12th house person. That's what I would say. Develop your person. Be confident in your personality. Be confident in who you are. Where do you shine? And kind of put that out there. And put that out there. Lend that helping hand. It does not mean become a martyr. I say this all the time with any Pisces energy, any 12th house energy. We still can do for ourselves. But we have to you're going to feel better when you put things out there and you're able to help and connect with others, because your sun is where you can shine. You can shine in that manner of what you are can inspire others, because it's in your 12th house. Now, if that doesn't make sense, go to my other video. I have a video that's all about the sun in the 12th house. Mercury in 12th. These people have really creative ideas. Why? Because you have all this time to retreat to the 12th house and think. Now, you think a lot. And you might be really good at learning things, because remember, Mercury really wants to learn. Mercury is really about the facts. Now you're putting Mercury in the 12th house and you're forcing Mercury to have to somehow contend with emotions and sensitivity. So here it's like your creative ideas probably can help other people, whether that's writing a self-help book, whether that's, you share your experiences, whether you have a podcast that helps people recover from something, whatever the case may be, you have the opportunity there to do that. So Mercury and 12th house people, like, share your ideas, put them out there. You might be behind the scenes type of person if you don't like to be shown, but you might just put your ideas on the internet, on the web, just kind of put it out there. Share with people what you have done. Share your ideas. Because usually they're very, very creative, and they're usually something that nobody else is really doing. Mars in the 12th house, you like to work behind the scenes. You always work behind the scenes. Mars in 12th house, we always work behind the scenes. We're always doing something, but it's usually for ourselves, and it's not for ego, and it's not for showy attention. But sometimes we don't think what we did matters. We don't think what we put energy into matters. So we just hide it and we keep it to ourselves. We think nobody cares. Show it. If you've been doing something behind the scenes, you're like, hey guys, I've been working on this. You guys check this out. Or, you might have done something, that can inspire other people. You might be someone that's like, you're writing a book, you think it doesn't matter, but if you put it out there, because a bestseller, because it helps people through things. You could be someone who, maybe you're really good at fixing things. I don't know. Right? I don't know what you're good at, but you could be really good at fixing something. And then you show people pictures of what you did, and all of a sudden everybody's coming to you because you know how to fix something, or you know how to do something, you know how to make something better, you know how to improve something, like whatever that case may be. Because usually Mars in the 12th house people are really good at knowing themselves. We don't tend to go to outside of our realm of comfort. We don't tend to claim things. We don't tend to claim we're good at things that we're not. So that was just an example. I don't know, but even at your job, like, don't get stuck behind the scenes. Take credit sometimes for what you did. Don't be egotistical. And I don't think 12th house energy people, we're never really going to come off as egotistical. We really won't usually. So put it out there. They're not going to view you like they view other people. Other people might get more attention than you usually, for sure. But unless you have like other aspects of your chart showing you're egotistical, put your stuff out there. People are usually going to appreciate what you did. Show what you've been doing behind the scenes. Right? It doesn't mean you become a showy person. It just means kind of like lift up. Hey, I'm good at this, guys. Hey, I know how to do this. Venus in 12th house people, learn what you really value about relationships. Here's what happens when Venus goes into 12th house. So first it could seem really good because Venus kind of has this relaxed energy anyway, and the 12th house seems to as well. But remember, the 12th house can also be our dreams and illusions. So when we're talking about partnership, there can be a little bit of illusion there. And the thing with that is that sometimes Venus and 12th house people want love that's not always possible. Sometimes Venus and 12th house people dream of somebody that's not even there. And because that person doesn't really exist, they then, love doesn't matter, love doesn't exist. And it could be that what you dreamt of or what you wanted wasn't realistic. Or on the flip side, some Venus and 12th house people can be like, I love everybody, so I'm not really going to find what I value in a relationship. So, hey, I don't need to commit to anybody. And if that's how you live your life, that's fine. I'm not saying you can't live your life the way you want to. But my point is that some Venus and 12th house people need to learn what do you really value? That's how you're going to find that type of relationship that you truly want. Not chasing things that are not realistic, chasing the ideal. Right? You can create the ideal from being realistic. And then from your realistic point of view, then you can craft what the relationship is like. But when we're dreaming of people that don't exist, or we're imposing on people things we wish they were, and then when they're not, that's not good enough. And now we're saying, well, I don't need to be in a relationship. I can just be by myself. And maybe you can. And I think at some point, everybody should have learned at some point, earlier, later, whatever, how to deal with themselves or not be too influenced by a partner. But Venus and 12th house people need to learn what they truly value, and then everything else will fall in place. Don't just let people and things come to you. What is it that you truly want? Because Venus does link to values, right? And not just love aspect of it. Jupiter in 12th house people, Jupiter is the original ruler of the 12th house, not Neptune. Neptune is in modern astrology. So expand your wisdom. You definitely have the potential to be someone who can lift up the light for everyone else about things that are sensitive in nature. You might have a sensitive nature about you, or you're someone that cares, but you shed light on what people need to do. You're not just caring and nurturing and holding people close to you, right? You're able to kind of help them expand their knowledge on something and really see things in a more expansive way. So, and also Jupiter in 12th house people, you have this ability to know things without knowing. You just have this inner wisdom, but sometimes you don't listen to it because either you're not spiritual or you don't trust yourself. And so you just let things fall into place. And then in hindsight, you're like, dang, I should have listened to myself. So understand that you do have those abilities and you should listen to yourself more, because by doing that, now you can help other people be expansive and you can expand the minds of other people in your life. You now have that influence. You're influential in the spiritual and the emotional development of other people that are in your life. Okay. Saturn in 12th house can be difficult because Saturn's about harsh lessons. So sometimes people with Saturn in the 12th house can be really aware, especially at an early age, of the realities of life, the harshness of life, right? Like you're really just like, you understand how things really work. And even though it's in a sensitive house, sometimes you could become kind of pessimistic sometimes, or just depressed. Saturn in 12th house can lead to some type of depression just because of your exposure to both reality and being very sensitive to it. But what I say with Saturn is like really understanding, using that to turn things around, being able to show people reality, right? But not in a way in which you're being off-putting. But here's what I mean. Saturn in the 12th house, because you have those abilities to do that. At the same time, Saturn is an area in which we learn harsh lessons in order for us to accumulate and grow. And so right now, when we're thinking about Saturn, we're also thinking about what is it like, what you learn with time. with time, things get better. So when you have Saturn in the 12th house, even though you might feel harsh, you might feel down, you have the ability to use this energy to improve yourself by going through that experience, even if it feels difficult, because Saturn can also bring gain. But you're not going to gain anything if you allow yourself to stay at that low point. Right? So whereas Saturn can really transform you in the sense of like, you might be someone that can gain, or you are able to build up your reputation or achieve your goals through the experiences that you've had, through the sensitive level of understanding things in a more, direct way, but at the same time, you're able to go through those things, become more mature. You're able to show people how to handle difficult things. You kind of become the symbol of that. You show, and you're like the model of, hey, this is actually how you're supposed to do this. This is how you're supposed to go through life, because you have that maturity and that wisdom. So mentoring people can be really important for Saturn in the 12th house. Mentoring people younger than you, showing people how you've overcome something. Also maybe being like more of a guide to people. People who are spiritual in the 12th house, Saturn 12th house, like you could be like a spiritual guru or like a mentor to people on like how to do this. But why? Because you've gone through that experience already. So yes, you have to put your lens on and don't ignore reality by allowing yourself to become depressed. Now, again, if you are truly dealing with depression, you should go to someone who's an expert on this, right? I'm not an expert in depression, but I'm saying that is prone. Sometimes Saturn in 12th house is prone to that, right? And so part of that is also because Saturn can be so intent on just always having things be a certain way, or not feeling down about not being able to reach their goals. The key to that is by actually understanding that sensitivity is there and not shying away from it, but also learning from it, because Saturn gives us harsh lessons. Why? So we can gain in the future, gain from that. Okay. And I know that might sound weird, but like gain through either sharing your experience, I would say making money, but not necessarily making money off it, but like sharing your experience, turning that experience into something that is positive, that you can now help other people through what you had to deal with. And it can feel self-sacrificing, right? That doesn't feel good to be like, wow, other people are going to benefit off my hard experience, but it's going to empower you, okay, in a way that it didn't before, and also help maybe with your reputation, because Saturn is linked to reputation, right? Esteem, right? People might say, wow, that person went through all these different experiences in order to be stronger. Uranus in 12th house has erratic ideas. Imagination is overdrive. And there's people that come up with things that you wouldn't think of. So like if you ask the average person to draw something, they're going to draw that, right? If you ask the average person to draw something, if you ask this person to draw something, it's going to be like completely different than what everybody else did. So Uranus in 12th house people can feel different. They can feel shut down. They can feel like people don't appreciate their ideas or appreciate them and how they are and how they think and move differently. So it's important to put yourself around people who are similar. Put yourself in situations where you're not going to be shut down, because that can be a lot to carry, to be to have Uranus in the 12th house and be so highly, stimulated to have new ideas and come through, but you're sensitive to it, right? Because we still know with 12th house energy. So I think the key to that is you putting yourself in the realm where you will be accepted and where people will allow that energy to flow, allow your creativity or your ideas or whatever it is that's special about you to thrive. Neptune in the 12th house. Neptune rules the 12th house, okay? And so now we have spiritual being. Like this might be the person who's mostly connected to the esoteric because they don't have to do as much research or learning. They just really connected to the spiritual realm. Now, what that can sometimes feel like, because it can feel like, sometimes no one truly understands this Neptune, a 12th house person. Like they really feel like completely. So for instance, like those of us who are 12th house stelliums, but we might have air or earth in our chart, we're always dealing with facts or communication. We're always having to deal with that. But when you have a lot of Neptune in your chart, a lot of Pisces in your chart, and you don't have a lot of that other energy that deals with reality or what's grounded, you can definitely feel the odd one out all the time because you're trying to always inspire. You always want things to be linked to what you believe to be the most ideal situation. So Neptune and 12th house people can be very, very idealistic. And that can lead to them sometimes living that out or not living that out because they're so disappointed that other people don't form around that. So I think the Neptune and 12th house person has to gain that confidence of how do you use your dreams and magnets, like how do you bring that to the surface? You also could be really good at bringing hope. So if you're feeling stuck, you're like, nobody understands me, you can bring hope. And again, how does that look? That can look like you direct a movie and it's really emotional and inspires people. You can write a book that inspires people. You can create an organization that helps people get back on their feet. You can work, you know what I mean? There's so many different things you can do. You can be a therapist in some way. Like you could be whatever you want to be in life, regardless of your signs. But I'm saying Neptune in 12th house people, you have this healing ability, but it's innate. It's gonna be natural to you. But because it's innate to you, you also have to learn how to be a little bit more in the reality of it. How do you bring that to the surface? How do you allow yourself to not just wallow in nobody understands me or nobody else is on the same level I'm in, and really bring that to the surface so you can bring in more people who are like you and that you feel really understand that's natural energy. But I think Neptune and 12th house, Neptune and Pisces, similar energy, but not the same. Neptune and 12th house energy people like perceived really positively, usually. Like you're usually perceived really delicately. People usually tend to look at these people as like it's almost like people know you're spiritual beings even if they don't know. But I think it's a really positive attribute. You just have to allow yourself to get used to the fact that like things are not going to always be as idealistic as you want them to be, but you have to kind of create that hope in people. And that might feel daunting, but you create that. Whatever that vision is that you have, and life isn't the way you want it to be, what is it that you're doing to show all of us that we can do that too? Pluto is very penetrative. Pluto in 12th house. I recently did a reading for someone and I shared like Pluto, you got to transform your life. You can too. Pluto's in the 12th house. You can transform your life or transform others' lives. Now, the thing is, Pluto can sometimes be abusive. Pluto can sometimes be transformative. So it really depends on the energy. So sometimes people, just like Saturn can bring depression sometimes in the 12th house, Pluto can definitely bring the 12th house just either abuse or like substance abuse. So you really have to be careful because the 12th house is linked to substance abuse too, escapism. And Pluto can be that control, that obsessive quality. So definitely if you Pluto in the 12th house, you have to transform the physical. You need to put these things into your reality, right? So the biggest thing that I can say for some people, Pluto in 12th house is like, you're able to kind of control sensitivity and don't use that to manipulate others because that can be a tendency of Pluto, but like you have the ability to help people work through certain feelings. You have the ability to help people see how to control themselves when they're being too sensitive, or you have the ability to help people see how to improve, right? You might be the type of person that's able to, when someone's going through a difficult time, you're like, okay, look at it this way. Like you have a kind of no nonsense way of looking at life, in way your sensitivity propels you to kind of look at things in a more deeper way of like, how can I get a control of this? How can I control this? Right? And so using that, not letting Pluto kind of destroy your sensitivity in you, but allowing yourself to, if you feel that you have things under control, how do you then help others see the merit in also controlling certain aspects of their life, right? And so even like I mentioned before with like the substance abuse thing, again, like this is not saying everyone with this placement will have that, but again, like I said, anything in the 12th house, especially certain of the outer planets sometimes can cause that in the 12th house of escapism. And you put Pluto there, which deals with obsession, right? So anytime you see Pluto there, you can deal with like any house, there's a propensity for obsession. So you could be someone that counsels people who have addictions, or you counsel people who have self-control issues, or you counsel people who need some type of help or transformation in their life. Or you might, your job or your position or what you do might help people get out of like kind of different than Saturn. Saturn is more like you're teaching those lessons to people. Whereas with Pluto, I think it's more so like you're literally showing them how to. You are kind of transforming, because remember, Pluto can deal with control and those types of things. So again, everything that I just said in this video depends on your entire chart, because we know we have planets doing all types of things with each other, squaring each other, being conjunct, trining, opposition. Like we have so many different things going on in our chart that yes, we do have to look at it in more than one way. But I just wanted to just help people who have a little bit of questions. Again, if that's not enough for you, you know, you can definitely visit the link below and check out my services to see what my rates are for personal readings so you can better understand yourself and your 12th house of stellium. Thanks for watching.